What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Open Great League, and the team we're taking a look at today is Florges, Annihilate, and Stunfisk. Now, the main focus of today's video is going to be Florges once again, because this Pokemon recently got access to Chilling Water. Chilling Water is a water-type Icy Wind clone, which means it lowers the opponent's attack and gives Florges some very solid coverage. Into basically all of its weaknesses, right? Poison resists all of its charge moves, you've got Steel that resists all of its charge moves, water is neutral into both of those, and then fire, which resists all of its charge moves, takes super effective damage from Chilling Water. So a great coverage move for Florges. You're going to see on the right there in the Sims in the Great League, it actually looks like Disarming Voice plus the the Chilling Water is actually the highest win rate and highest average moveset, so maybe potentially something to remember for the future. But today we're going to be looking at double ground coverage with both Trailblaze and Chilling Water. So without further ado, let's hop into some battles. Also, apologies about my setup. I'm currently moving apartments, so this is what you guys get to deal with. But into the first match, we've got a pretty great lead. We've got Marowak. Now, of course, our fairy winds are neutral, but we have double ground coverage with both Trailblaze and Chilling Water. They try and go for a catch onto a Azumarill, but guess what, Azumarill? Here comes back-to-back Trailblazes. These are super effective damage, and they're going to start adding up. That puts them into the red. We snipe with the Annihilate. We end up getting the catch of the Ice Beam, which is only neutral, and now they're energy dry. So guess what? Guess who's getting the full counter farm down? It's Annihilate. We leave with a super effective Ice Punch loaded. I just clicked the move instead of going for good timing because the Marowak did have a charge move loaded, so I knew I would win CMP, but the opponent lets that go. They're now one short of the back-to-back, so I will just let this Bone Club go. Bone Club picks up the knockout, back in comes Florges. But in the back is a Bastiodon, and we have a fantastic response to Bastiodon in the back. We've got Stunfisk, which resists Smackdown and has double super effective Mud Bombs that basically two-shot the Bastiodon. So that is fantastic. We can also tank a neutral Flamethrower, but for some reason the opponent instead goes for a resisted Stone Edge, but that's fine. Here comes yet another Mud Bomb, over farming like crazy. So that next Mud Bomb does pick up the knockout, and now we can potentially grab a shield with the Stunfisk. Stunfisk will grab one shield. In comes the Florges. Florges, after one more Fairy Wind, will be able to grab the second shield from the opponent, and we still have two shields left in play. So the opponent looks for the full farm down. They can't quite get it before we do, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Florges into Shadow Dust Noir. So it doesn't get more neutral than this. Both of us have only neutral coverage. Well, I guess they do have Dynamic Punch for resisted coverage. The opponent actually throws on good timing, which allows me to outpace, making it to a debuffing Chilling Water, and that does end up grabbing a shield. Now that is a little bit weird because, I mean, I guess I did have enough for a potential Moonblast there, but I will be able to outpace to a second charge move, able to make it to Chilling Water number 2, and this will be let go by the opponent. They will get the full Astonished farm down, but that's okay because in comes Stunfisk. They're double debuffed here, so I'm not really worried about any one charge move, so I will let this go. Even if they can get to the back-to-back, it won't be the end of the world. They do end up getting there on 1 HP. That is pretty unfortunate, but Stunfisk can easily take this Shadow Punch. We eventually get the full Thundershock farm down. What is in the back? It's a Credilli. Now, Credilli, of course, has a great matchup here. At least this is an Acid Credilli, so it's a little bit better for us. But now in comes the Annihilate. We have super effective counters, but in the back is a Corviknight, so this is going to be tricky. My opponent has the alignment that they want, whereas I would want it completely reversed. But I do connect with a Rage Fist. The opponent lets that go because they know I'm going to make it to a couple more charge moves. But now I'm just going to look to double shield my Annihilate and go for the full farm down, but I can't. The opponent is going to get to a third Air Cutter before I can fully farm it down, so I have to watch. Can I get the catch onto Stunfisk? I do. That is absolutely massive. So Annihilate has a lot of energy stored. The Corviknight is basically removed from the field of play, and they have no ability to get to a charge move against either of my Pokemon. So now I can just start spamming out these Mud Bombs on the Credilli. I'm hoping I can get to one more to at least grab that shield from the opponent, because otherwise if they get the full acid farm down, this is going to be a very tricky end game. We are going to get there, so that forces the opponent's hand. They have to throw their energy, and now it's just about, can we tank a neutral Grass Knot? They're at the back-to-back moves. Fortunately, we are the non-shadow Annihilate. Grass Knot connects, it puts us deep into the red, but we do live it. We counter farm them down, able to make it to the back-to-back Rage Fists after one more counter, and we just have to survive the sand attacks to win this game, and we do. So Rage Fist number 2, we'll be able to pick up the knockout, knocking the Corviknight out of the sky, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got FLORGES into Goodra. So this is a fantastic lead. The opponent is going to pivot out into a Marowak, but Marowak now going to be hit with a super effective Chilling Water. So FLORGES doing some great core breaking for me. That is kind of interesting that they are this weak to Azumarill. That said, I can go for one in the move, catching the Bone Club onto my Annihilate where it is only neutral, and it looks like we can take 2 of those, but the opponent doesn't even get there. We get the full counter farm down. Now I'm going to look to connect with a super effective Ice Punch before the opponent can get to an Aqua Tail to pick up the knockout. That connects, that does big damage. The opponent throws their energy right away. They did not want to take any more counters. Aqua Tail does pick up the knockout on the Annihilate, but we have the alignment that we need. So now back in comes the FLORGES after I wait the switch timer completely, and in it comes, and in the back is a Scizor, so just completely hard walling my opponent. Well, not hard walling, Annihilate is not a hard wall to Marowak, but we are able to take that win. Into next match, we got FLORGES into Shadow Hypno. So let's see how this matchup is going to play out. We do fortunately outpace, which is good because these confusions are really adding up. Able to make it to Chilling Water number 1. Of course, the opponent will let that go. But now I probably will just commit the shield. They have enough for the Shadow Ball. They full send the Shadow Ball. That is huge. And now I can go for Chilling Water number 2. I'm really hoping that these confusions don't add up enough where a Shadow Ball will still be enough to pick up the knockout. It's going to be close, but no, the opponent doesn't even commit to it. This is only enough for one of the elemental punches. It's just the Ice Punch, so we live that. Can we get the full Fair Wind farm down? We can. That is absolutely massive. And in comes a Marowak once again, so we get the alignment that we need. We can connect with a super effective Chilling Water, but not if the opponent commits the shield. But we have switch advantage, which is all that we need because a Marowak on my Stunfisk would be a death sentence. The opponent ends up throwing on alignment, maybe trying to throw on the Stampede tie, but I do not go for it. Instead, in the back is a Shadow Charizard, but Charizard will be hit with the Stunfisk. Even if they full send a Blast Burn here, I should be able to live it, and they do end up full sending, which is good because now we can look to overfarm, pick up the knockout with the discharge, and if they commit a shield, I will be able to make another by committing a shield of my own, but instead the opponent's going to let that go. They're full sending on the Marowak. Marowak lets the Mud Bomb go through, but all that does is put them in counter farm down range. They know we had the move, so they had to let it go, but they're not at the back-to-back moves, which means we can shield up the Bone Club, counter farm them down, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got FLORGES into Corsola. So this is about as neutral as it gets once again. Both of our charge moves and our fast move are neutral and vice versa. The opponent ends up safe switching into a Credilli, but Credilli will be hard punished by the Annihilate. The opponent does end up going for the Grass Knot, which is the neutral damage, but all I have to do here is farm up to the Ice Punch. It's super effective damage. It will be enough to pick up the knockout on the Credilli. Back in comes Corsola, but Corsola will be hit with a super effective Rage Fist as well. Rage Fist connects. That does some pretty solid chip to the Corsola, but they do get the full farm down. In the back is a Shadow Scizor, so that explains why they switched out a pretty good lead. They just had 2 better answers in the back, but fortunately I switched fast enough, which means we do outpace, get to the Mud Bomb before they're able to get to a Trailblaze. I will put up a shield. Even if my opponent baits, they shouldn't be able to outpace me, just because Trailblaze is a little bit more expensive. I can now overfarm by 1, look to pick up the knockout with the Mud Bomb, unless the opponent commits the double shield, and they do. So now this is where it gets scary. I think I just will have to put up a shield here and then just watch for the catch. They do end up going for the Night/Bait, which means I can go for 1 in the move, pick up the knockout with the Mud Bomb, and then I have my Corsola, they have their Corsola against my FLORGES. FLORGES able to outpace, making it to the Chilling Water, permanently debuffing my opponent's attack and putting them into the yellow health range. Looking for the full farm down. The opponent obviously going to have to throw energy in order to pick up the knockout on the FLORGES, but after that charge move of the Chilling Water, their attack is lowered, so Nightshade is not enough to pick up the knockout. We get to the Chilling Water number 2. That's not quite enough, but 1 more Fairy Wind does pick up the knockout, and we are able to take that win, and that is a 5-0 set with Chilling Water, Trailblaze, FLORGES. Terrible lead in the next match. We've got FLORGES into Empoleon. Going to safe switch into Annihilate because we have 2 better answers in the back, and the opponent responds with Charizard. So my opponent is ABA weak to the Stunfisk already, so I have to imagine that they are extremely weak to this Pokemon. They do end up overfarming quite a bit, and now they're going to pick up the knockout with the Air Cutter. Fortunately, at least on FLORGES, I do resist the fast move, double resist the fast move at that, but a Blast Burn will do huge chip, but I don't really need my FLORGES in this matchup. They end up going for an Air Cutter bait, which means now I can commit a shield and then look to pick up the knockout with the Chilling Water. But I do want to be able to outpace the Empoleon, so I do go for one more Fairy Wind. Now looking to pick up the knockout with the Chilling Water, and it does. And now in comes the Stunfisk. Stunfisk will be met with the Empoleon, but in the back is Dragonite. So not having a shield advantage in this matchup is a little bit unfortunate, but that is okay. That first discharge does connect. That puts them in Fairy Wind farm down range. So at this point, I'm just going to let this go. I'm hoping that I can get to back-to-back Trailblazes on the FLORGES to win this game. The opponent ends up full setting a superpower, which means I'm going to look for the full farm down to come out loaded with energy. If I get the full Thundershock farm down, we're at the back-to-back moves, I should be able to live a Metal Sound, so I can just go back-to-back here, which means this game is over, but I want to cover for that. The opponent is not quite out of move yet, so back-to-back discharges coming through, not quite enough to pick up the knockout. I don't pivot into my FLORGES because my opponent anticipates that I was going to go for the combo play, but instead they end up throwing it on the Stunfisk because I don't come in, which means I'm able to outpace because I threw that one extra Fairy Wind, making it to the Trailblaze. That's neutral damage. It picks up the knockout on the Empoleon, and we somehow are able to take that win. Into the next match, another Dusknoir, but this one is non-Shadow. So let's see how we want to play this out. We are just going to go over the charge move right away, but the opponent ends up throwing on alignment this time, which means I am going to commit the shield first. It is just the Shadow Punch, and I know this, so I'm just going to go for the Trailblaze this time, because I've already shielded once, and I know 2 Chilling Waters are not enough to pick up the knockout, so if I go for back-to-back Trailblazes, it is. So the Chilling Water will threaten the knockout unless the opponent commits a shield back, and they do. So they end up shielding a debuffing move, which is really nice. That doesn't do as much damage as the Trailblaze. They end up connecting with a Shadow Punch, but because I lowered their attack, it allows me to get to yet another Chilling Water. Chilling Water does pick up the knockout, and we do win the ones. In the back is Moltres, but fortunately we have the alignment that we need. So in comes Stunfisk, a complete wall to energy from the Moltres here, unless they are running Payback. But as you're going to see here, they are on Fly and Brave Bird because they full send a Brave Bird. They end up making a really nice catch, but they catch onto Empoleon. Now, Empoleon takes super effective damage from both of my charge moves, but Discharge does a little bit less damage. But the reason you should probably just go Discharge in this matchup is in case they go for a catch. But they just let me pick up the knockout with the Discharge. Can I make it 2 back-to-back moves before they get the Sucker Punch farm down? Yes, I can. So it looks like Annihilate is going to be sitting this game out. Discharge number 1 grabs the first shield. Discharge number 2 will connect, and Discharge number 2 picks up the knockout on the Moltres, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got another Corsola lead. So the Ghosts are out today. Just going to play out this matchup in the exact same way, going for the Trailblaze actually this time. So you're seeing an adjustment in strategy even throughout the video. I was going for Trailblazes because I knew I'd be shielding up the first charge move anyways, so it didn't feel like lowering their attack and then shielding really made any sense. So why don't I boost my attack and then go for the Chilling Water to debuff their attack. Instead, though, my opponent has other ideas. They pivot into their safe swap of Credilli, but Credilli is met with the regular Annihilate. Annihilate can't quite get the farm down, so I will have to connect with a Rage Fist on the CMP tie to pick up the knockout. But the opponent commits a shield, and that's pretty interesting because I can just commit a shield right back, look for the full counter farm down, and now I'm going to come out boosted with a super effective Rage Fist against the Corsola. So does the Corsola really want to take this boosted super effective damage from the Annihilate? It does. That puts them deep into the red. And yes, they do have a shield advantage, but now in comes Stunfisk. Stunfisk can absorb any energy here. And this way I distribute the damage between my 2 Pokemon in case whatever I have it in the back is weak to the FLORGES, but that is not the case. In the back is the Scizor. They're at enough bullet punches for the Trailblaze, so I'm going to throw 1 Mud Bomb, go for the catch onto my Florges. The opponent doesn't end up going for it. They went for the overfarm, anticipating a pivot, and now it's going to be close. Can I get the next charge move? The opponent not willing to risk it, throws their energy, but they are not at back-to-back moves. Night Slash does pick up the knockout. They would need to Trailblaze in order to knock out the Stunfisk, and they don't quite have the energy to get there. So Mud Bob number 2 connects. We can now Thundershock, farm down the Corsola, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Florges v Florges. So Battle of the Florges. Let's see how we want to play out this matchup. I think I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go for the Trailblaze first, boosting my attack. So that way, if the opponent ends up going for the Chilling Water, I'm just doing more damage, because I believe Trailblaze actually does 5 more damage than the Chilling Water. So they do go for the Chilling Water, and you're going to see they get into the yellow before I do, just by 1 Fairy Wind. Fortunately, I also win CMP in this matchup. My opponent must have a 0 attack Florges, but Trailblaze number 2 is not quite enough to pick up the knockout, but I know a Chilling Water is not going to knock me out here, so I will let this go. But it's a stab Disarming Voice, so that actually does pick up the knockout, and now in comes the Annihilate. Annihilate gets the counter farm down, but in the back is a Corviknight. I end up going for the catch onto my Stunfisk. I am unsuccessful, and it's a Toedscruel in the back. So this is just about worst case scenario. There's virtually no way I can win this game, just because Toedscruel is such a hard wall to the Stunfisk, and even if I'm able to save 2 shields for the Annihilate, we've seen this matchup before against the Corviknight, that it's just not enough. Because they can get to 3 air cutters before we get to that charge move. Fortunately, I do make it to 3 mud bombs before getting fully knocked out here. Mud bomb does end up putting them into the yellow health range, which means a double super effective ice punch should be enough to knock them out. Do win CMP in this matchup, so it does actually knock out the Toedscruel. But yeah, they're just going to get to too many charge moves. They already have air cutter number 1. I have to let the first one go if I want any chance of winning, and that actually does less damage than I expected. So now going to put the shield on the second, but they're already outpacing me, which means they're going to outpace me to back-to-back moves. But I do want to boost my attack, just because these counters are what's going to win me this game. But the opponent lets it go, worried about me making it to multiple Rage Fists, and now I see a win con. I think I can go for the full counter farm down before they're able to make it to a 4th air cutter, and we do get the full counter farm down. The opponent had 2 shields left in play. We are able to take that win into the oh, actually that was the final match of the video, I believe. Oh no, is this the final match of the video? No, this is the, okay, we're restarting over. But yeah, so somehow able to take that win was truly incredible. Honestly, Florges with double ground coverage was really strong, and I want to take a look at it again. I don't know if I want to run this exact same team. I do like the Stunfisk plus Florges core, and then Annihilate does make a really good third, just because steals are going to give you a lot of trouble, and to an extent Grass. Grass completely walls your moveset, walls the Stunfisk as well. So Grass would be a core breaker for this team. Really any Pokemon that you build with Florges would be, because it wants to be paired with Grounds as a fairy. That said, Annihilate as a ghost, resisting the poison, having super effective for the steals, is really good coverage there too. Before I wrap up this video, I want to say a thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Green Mustache, Sohan Patil, Eliana, Perry G, and Blue Nation, and an extra special thank you to the legend trainer members on this channel: Andrew Pitten, Moosachu, Noodleman, Speedster, Estros, Fast Eddie Boss, CD Slaskus, and Castle. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace!